coming up in about 10 minutes' time. Now, before all that, if like me, each week, I'm sure you do, we're all gathering together, aren't we, wherever we live, avenues, streets, whatever, avenues, anything, cul-de-sacs, whatever, and we're there, aren't we, at a certain time every Thursday, clapping for the carers, the NHS workers, and also this week was an extra special one because somebody in our avenue played Happy Birthday, of course, for 100th birthday of Captain Tom Moore, who was honorary colonel this week. How can we begin to, that's great, isn't it, rightfully commend those who've, well, basically selflessly, and it is selfless, isn't it, given their all in the height of this coronavirus pandemic. 75% of us, apparently our new survey of us, would apparently like to see them honoured by the Queen. But would that happen? Well, I have no idea, but I'll tell you someone who might. Awards Intelligence and Honours expert Mark Llewellyn-Slade joins me. Good morning. How are you, Mark?
I'm very well, close to peak condition, all things considered, Gary, I have to say.
So this is like, a wish list. People want something, a bit more recognition for these great people. But what is this all about, Mark, really?
Well, I think that with so many NHS staff and key workers pulling out all the stops and sacrificing their own health for others, they should be appropriately recognised. And a Queen's Honour seems to me to be the perfect way to do it. The Cabinet Office and the Palace could introduce a new honour, for example, specifically to recognise those who have gone that extra mile during the corona pandemic. Perhaps they could call it a Queen's Humanitarian Medal, for example. It could then be used to highlight and reward other frontline healthcare workers and other key worker superheroes in the future. If we have another major crisis, God forbid, or another Grenfell or a major terrorist attack, with these brilliant people coming to our rescue yet again. Another option is the George Cross, of course. That was first introduced by King George VI back in 1940 to reward acts of extreme bravery in the Second World War. It was aimed primarily at civilians engaged in rescue work and bomb disposal and that kind of thing. But the award could go to all key workers and could be announced in September when it has its 80th anniversary.
That's amazing stuff. But, I mean, this isn't going against any protocol, you're saying. This could just be added to the list.
Yeah. The Cabinet Office and the Palace could introduce a new award like, a Queen's Humanitarian Medal if they wanted to. And it would specifically alert people when they saw those letters after someone's name, a QHM, that they were involved in some important way in that horrible corona thing that happened years ago, for example. And it's a great way of recognising them. But of course, when it comes to the typical honours like MBEs and OBEs, which I'm sure your listeners are more familiar with, if you know someone who's a frontline healthcare worker or another type of key worker who you feel has gone above and beyond the call of duty, but for a sustained period of time, then get them nominated. They have to be in it to win it, and they can't put themselves forward. So if your listeners do know of somebody, then put pen to paper and make the effort to get them the rewards that they deserve.
I think that's great.
It's all right for the and it's fine for the famous actors and pop stars and that kind of thing because they're in the public eye. We read about them in the press when they do great stuff, but people up in Lancashire, are the Palace going to know and the Cabinet Office going to know what's going on in Lancashire?
That's a great point.
The great people of Lancashire tell them.
Yeah, Mark, I've got to ask you, because you just touched on it, the regular stuff, and it kind of amazes me. I'm in the media myself. It's happened all the time. And, the media have to have a little tip-off of who's going to be on the list and they can interview them and all that. And it happens every year. We're all dying to find out who's on it. And then the next day, the paper says, I can't believe the Queen's giving him an award, and why is he... We have this all the time. So I'm asking you, you're an expert. Is it about time that, these honours really did go to different people, members of the public, more than the stars and the superstars and, because he did well in government, he's now a sir and all that? I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, when it comes to the honours, we do tend to focus on the celebrities, but the vast majority of recipients are what I describe as being extraordinary, ordinary people doing great work in the community or for charity, or they might be outstanding philanthropists, doctors, entrepreneurs, boosting the economy. A real diverse mix of people get them. But the impression is that it goes to the famous because, of course, on Honours Day, the media focus on the big names.
Yeah, that's
and I
absolutely
suppose
true.
that's because we like hearing about the big names. But it's really about Bert in Bristol and Mavis in Macclesfield, doing
Yeah.
great work for the community and charity. And about 75% of honours go to extraordinary, ordinary people at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when you say a public, that's quite a big figure, isn't it? 75% think that this should happen. And the last time we had a mass adoration, it was in a very sad moment, of course, was Princess Diana, when the whole nation, or a majority of the nation, showed that pouring of grief. But this is totally different, isn't it? This is like people putting their lives on the line. We know a lot of them have actually lost their lives trying to save other people as well. So this is more than just a hint that the people want this, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there, Gary. People are dying. Frontline care workers, NHS staff, etc., are dying, almost every day. And these people are so brave. And that's why the George Cross has been muted. I mean, it was introduced in 1940, as I say, to highlight people going into the war, and putting their lives on the line. But now we're talking about extreme bravery going into a hospital or a care home. That's being talked about in the same breath as those on the front line in war.
Yeah,
that just puts it into perspective for me anyway.
It does, and thank you for your expertise, because a lot of people can talk around this not knowing the facts, and you've brought some great facts about the honours list, and I never knew the majority were just common people and doing a job every day. So thank you for that, Mark. I think we all do just look at the papers, think it's all focused on the stars and the superstars, and go, why has he got that? But it's not. And thanks for joining us. How are you finding it, by the way? You're all cozied up in the house until further notice.
Yeah, hanging on in there, just being out with the kids in the driveway on the scooters and all that kind of stuff. And
actually, I think you should get off their scooters. You should get off those scooters, Mark.
I know. I'm a big kid, really.
You're going to break it,
Any
mate.
excuse.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. Really, really love it.
You're welcome, Gary.
Thanks a lot. That's Mark Llewellyn-Slade, Awards Intelligence and Honours Expert. That's quite amazing. I'm quite amazed. I did learn a few things there. Any thoughts on that, where the honours should go to NHS workers? Should the cabinet and the people in Whitehall, should they be looking at this and nudging the Queen to say, maybe we can do this and introduce this, ma'am? I don't know. It's your thoughts. Let us know. 81333, Lanks, your first word, then your message. And thanks for all your texts, by the way, on the film. Going well. Give you another spin of that shortly. Got a great chart attack for you as well.